Let's get some perspective tonight on the President-elect's news conference today. Senior political analyst Brit Hume is with us tonight in Boca Grande, Florida, just a little southwest of here. Good evening, Brit. Your take.
I'm Brad. Well, I think it was an interesting news conference, and as you say, it was packed with news. What I sense may happen here is that people will be mesmerized by the force of his attack on the news media that published information about these scurrilous rumors that apparently were circulating during the campaign that nobody thought were worthy of publication until, just yesterday by one news outlet, referenced by other news outlets. But it may distract attention from some of the things he did today. He did take steps to try to eliminate conflicts of interest, as John Roberts explained, and in doing so, I think he won't satisfy everybody, but I think, Brett, we can infer from the reaction of the Trump supporters to his refusal to release the tax returns that his base, at least, doesn't care about this stuff, and that as far as they're going to be concerned, he'll be fine with that. And the other thing is, and the other thing, Brett, is that he was pretty firm on Russia in ways we hadn't heard before. His acknowledgement that John pointed out that Putin's Russia was behind the hacking of the Democratic Party emails was a first, basically, and we sense from that, I think, Brett, that it meant that the intelligence briefing he got on that subject he took seriously and I think was probably impressed by.
Here's a little more from the President-elect on the relationship with Russia.
We have a horrible relationship with Russia. Russia can help us fight ISIS. If Putin likes Donald Trump, guess what, folks? That's called an asset, not a liability. Now, I don't know that I'm going to get along with Vladimir Putin. I hope I do, but there's a good chance I won't. And if I don't, do you honestly believe that Hillary would be tougher on Putin than me? Does anybody in this room really believe that? Give me a break.
Brett, what do you think about the tone, the tenor, the delivery, what we can learn from today that may forecast into his time in the White House and interaction with the press?
Well, I think this, Brett, that it's pretty clear that he regards his potential relationship with Vladimir Putin as very much a work in progress. And what he seemed to be telling us there was that it remains to be seen whether he'll have a chummy relationship with Vladimir Putin. And that attitude was very much reflected in the testimony on Capitol Hill today from his nominee to be Secretary of State, Rex Tillerson, who expressed very similar sentiments and was very dubious that Russia is any kind of a friend of the United States. So I think you put those two things together, and a lot of the hand-wringing that's been going on about what a great pal Trump is going to try to be of Putin's, I think is badly misplaced.
And his supporters on social media seem pretty fired up with the way he dealt with that news conference.
Well, I think, they respond to that kind of thing. When he takes on the news media, they like that. The question I would have about that, Brett, is this. This story that website BuzzFeed published yesterday was the subject of widespread condemnation within the news media itself. And its details, the lurid details of things that are almost certainly false, were not picked up widely at all. So what is the effect of Mr. Trump, who had important information to communicate today? The information about what he's going to try to do to avoid conflicts of interest was one thing. The comments he made about the relationship with Russia was another. The announcement of his VA secretary was yet another. That these things were important business to conduct today. So he sends his press secretary out at the very beginning, before he said a word, to denounce the news media on this thing. Then the vice president, who spoke next, mentioned it, and then the president-elect himself mentioned it, thereby calling attention to a matter that I think wasn't going very far and wasn't going to receive wide circulation and would have been forgotten in a matter of days. Now, it may still be, but it does raise an interesting question of whether when you go out after something like that, whether you simply end up feeding the story. We'll see.
Yeah, we will see. Brett, as always, thank you.